All right, last page, 77. What did it matter? What could love, the unsolved mystery, count for in the face of this possession of self-assertion, which she suddenly recognized as the strongest impulse of her being? Chopin goes from 77 to 80, and what she's saying is, who cares about love? There's something more important than that. Self-reliance, self-preservation, being yourself. Like, it's like being in a relationship where somebody tries to make you into something and you have to eventually end it. And you're like, you know what? That's not who I am. It's over between us because I have to be who I am. This is what she's realizing. She's like, oh, I get to be myself. She doesn't have to worry about it anymore because her husband is dead. And she's excited about it. Free, line 81, body and soul free, she kept whispering. I think it's important that we notice that she's whispering it. It's like one of those things that you don't want to say too loud before it jumps up and bites you, or before people start to think about a time your mom or dad made you mad and you said something mean under your breath. You don't want to say it too loud. My mom used to have the saying, the devil has big ears. Don't say something too loud because it may come true, you know. And then she's realizing, free, body and soul free, she kept whispering. I think she's like trying to assure herself, hey, I'm free. I'm finally out of this. Line 82, Josephine, that's her sister. Josephine was kneeling before the closed door with her lips to the keyhole, imploring for admission. Louise, and we finally find out what Louise's name is. Louise, open the door, I beg, open the door. You will make yourself ill. What are you doing, Louise? For heaven's sake, open the door. Line 86, go away, I'm not making myself ill. No, she was drinking in a very elixir of life through that open window. So here we have Josephine is like worried about Louise, and she's like, open the door, please, because she's worried Louise is going to do something crazy to herself because her husband is dead. But it's so ironic because it's just the opposite, right? Louise is happy. It says right here, no, she was drinking in a very elixir of life through that open window. She's realizing, I'm about to be free. My life is changing. It's going to be something that's awesome. Her fancy was running riot all along those days ahead of her. She's starting to think about what she's going to do. Line 89, spring days and summer days and all sorts of days that would be her own. She breathed a quick prayer that life might be long. It was only yesterday she had thought with a shudder that life might be long. So, great line, because 90 to 92, she's excited because she's like, oh, I'm going to get to live a long life. I'm going to be free. But just yesterday when she was married, she's like, oh my God, I'm going to live a long life, because she was married. So we really get to see what Louise is thinking. Louise is glad. I mean, let's just be honest. She's glad now that her husband is gone. She didn't even love him. She had to serve him. She had to do all this stuff. But now she's free. She's so happy because she's free. Line 93. She arose at length and opened the door to her sister's importunities. There was a feverish triumph in her eyes, and she carried herself unwittingly like a goddess of victory. She feels good. She's free. She clasped her sister's waist, and together they descended the stairs. Richard stood waiting for them at the bottom. Someone was opening the front door with a latchkey. It was Brentley Mallard who entered, a little travel-stained, composedly carrying his gripsack and umbrella. He had been far from the scene of the accident, and he did not even know that there had been one. He stood amazed at Josephine's piercing cry, at Richard's quick motion to screen for him for the view of his wife. When the doctors came, they said that she had died of a heart disease, of the joy that kills. And that's the end. That's the end of A Story of an Hour. But before I go, I want to explain that last piece. So Louise is crying, and she's upset. Actually, she's not. She's very happy because her husband is dead. And then Josephine comes and gets her, and they're going downstairs. And this is like, imagine like Star Wars or something, where like the person in the big gown comes down the stairs, like the king or the queen comes down the stairs. And she's coming down the stairs, and she has his shoulders back, and she's really happy. But she's not showing it. She's showing a stern face. And then the door opens. And lo and behold, there's Brentley Mallard, her husband. And what happened was it was a false report. He didn't die. As a matter of fact, he wasn't even close to the wreckage, right? And everybody freaks out. Like, Josephine screams, and then Richards like runs to go check, make sure it's him. And in the instant that all that happens, Louise dies, right? She dies. And this is what's great. Last two lines. When the doctors came, they said she had died of heart disease. Well, in the very first line, it says, knowing that Miss Mallard was afflicted with a heart disease, great care was taken to break to her as gently as possible the news of her husband's death. We knew she had heart disease. We knew that she couldn't take a shock. Well, what would be more shocking than thinking, hey, I'm free and I don't have to deal with my butthead husband anymore, and then all of a sudden he opens the door. And she had a heart attack. And she died. But this is what's even better. This is why Chopin is the shiz. Because in line 105, it says, when the doctors came, they said she had died of heart disease, of the joy that kills. Right? They thought that maybe she had died because she found out that her husband was alive, and she was so excited and so happy that she died, when it's quite the opposite. I think that she died because she realized that free life that she had been so building herself up for was gone. And that's a great, great, great story. I mean, we see the character change. We see how she has certain ideas about certain things, and then it all turns up on its head. And Chopin does this great by, in the last, I mean, she gives like 6 lines to the ending. And that's when everything changes. I mean, so we had the inciting incident, okay? It was when she realized that her husband died. And then the rising action is she's like going through the stages of grief, and she's feeling really bad. And then we have like a climax. Like, she's like, wait, I'm free. And then the falling action is like she's starting to realize, hey, I get to do all this stuff, and I'm going to have all these years, and everything's going to be great. And then the resolution starts to come, like she's coming down the stairs. Like, it's even like symbolic that she's coming down the stairs, right? And then bam, Chopin throws it back at you. Here's your little twist. Here's your little surprise. Another climax. Boom. Brentley Mallard walks in and she dies. I mean, it's done so well. There's not a lot of time with the fact that she dies. And if you don't really read this carefully, or if you don't really think about it the way we're thinking about it right now, you completely miss it. All you see is that the last part, when the doctors came in, they said she died of heart disease. And you're like, oh. But it's so much better than that. All right? Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I really want you to think about the story. I'd like you to find a 6 signpost for it, if you can, for me. If you could do a Freytag's pyramid, exposition, inciting incident, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, all that. If you can do that, that would be great too, because what we're going to do is we're going to discuss this, and we're going to see how this story relates to some of the other stories. All right? I hope you've enjoyed my reading. I hope I haven't bored you too much, and I will talk to you tomorrow in class. All right? Thanks a lot.